Hi, I'm Thomas from Cozy Grammar, and welcome to this exploration of three keys to connecting language and wonder. This is a presentation we're doing for the Heartwood Charter School, and I imagine this presentation will go about 30 minutes or so. I'll spend the first 10 minutes talking about these three keys I allude to in my title. I'll also spend about 10 minutes telling you more about Cozy Grammar itself, walking you through the curriculum a little bit, and then we'll have some time for question and answer. So let's dive right into what I'm calling three keys, or we could also call them three principles to connecting language and wonder. Because, of course, when people think of the term grammar, they don't necessarily think of things like wonder or creativity or things like that. So, and yet, what we believe is that grammar can actually be a surprising doorway into the magic of words, into the hidden architecture, if you will, of sentences and of poetry and of stories and poems, all of these things. So here are the three keys I want to offer you. The first key or principle is that the context of language is life. And if we look at the way that language, and particularly grammar, has tended to be taught, this wouldn't be as clear a thing, because often we see grammar lessons in particular being associated with a chalkboard or a whiteboard with diagrams on a surface of some kind. And of course, there's a place for that. But of course, where we use language is out in the world, in our homes, in our communities, even out in nature if we're walking with friends and speaking. Anytime we speak and anytime we write or want to express ourselves through written language, we are invoking the powers of language, which grammar can help us to see and understand. And so for each of these principles, I'm going to offer either an activity that you can try or a corresponding principle to think about. And in this case, one of the many ways that we suggest in our curriculum for exploring the relationship between language and life, the context of language being life, is to encourage our students to keep a notebook. Maybe a little small little notebook they can put in their pocket, and to start paying attention to what they hear and read. It's particularly interesting, I think, to have students start listening for the ways that people speak. And as they learn, say, about nouns or verbs or pronouns, to see if they can pay attention to how nouns and verbs and pronouns are used in everyday life. I remember I had a student write to us and tell us about something that she discovered about the word another. She said, I was learning about this indefinite pronoun another, and I noticed somebody was saying, oh, that's a whole nother story. And when I wrote it down in my notebook, I noticed something peculiar, which is that the word another, that other word whole, had sort of come in there between the an of the word and the other, or actually between the a and the nother, so that we got a whole nother story. And she wrote, I didn't realize nother was a word. And so that was the opening for her into exploring the ways that in spoken language, sometimes words behave in unexpected ways, and how that can be useful for us to be aware of, not only as writers, but as maybe as creative writers or people who might want to write stories or plays, for instance, with dialogue. The second of these keys that I want to share with you is that grammar can enhance creativity. And of course, this flies in the face of a school of thinking or of thought which says that grammar can be stultifying to creativity. In fact, the co-founder of Cozy Grammar, Marie Rackham, was teaching in the schools on Vancouver Island in an era when grammar had fallen out of fashion. People started to think it was better to teach grammar more intuitively, because grammar, if we give too much grammar to kids, they'll become stymied. They'll cease to be as creative. And of course, if grammar is poorly taught, that may be a kind of unintended result. But she believed that grammar was absolutely central to understanding how we speak and write. That is one of the key tools to understanding language. And so she persisted, in spite of people calling her a kind of dinosaur. And interestingly, as computers were first appearing and she started to train herself on her own to use a computer, she wrote what became the basic cozy grammar course. It's just a way to put her own, many years of teaching into a form that could be shared. And the interesting thing is that there were teachers, young teachers, new teachers, who would see her in the computing room and they'd look over her shoulder and they'd say, "Oh, I think I'm going to need to read your book because I didn't learn this stuff in school, but I want to be able to teach it." And her curriculum, in fact, was shared throughout the entire school district because people found it to be so valuable. Now, as far as how does that connect to creativity, this is where I come in to Cozy Grammar. I am myself a working writer and poet and also a translator. And in my contribution to Cozy Grammar, I offer lessons, video lessons, as well as written sort of exercises or inspirations, if you will, connecting language and creativity. So here's an example that you can try even right now as you listen, which is about adjectives. We know adjectives are words that describe things, how they look or sound or taste or feel. So close your eyes, if you're willing to close your eyes, and imagine a place that you know well, a beloved place. Maybe it's your home. Maybe it's a beloved place in nature. Just see that for a moment and think about how, if you were writing about this place, how would you describe this place? What kinds of adjectives would you use? And you can either just do this in your own head, or if you have a piece of paper, you can write down 4 or 5 sentences how you would describe this place if you were describing it to someone who perhaps had never seen it before. I'll just give you a few moments to do that. I'll think about some, as you do that, I'll sort of speak out loud how, in my own, I work as a writer in my cozy writing yurt where I'm speaking to you from. And I might say something like, the yurt that I write in is round, round being an adjective. Or I might say, the walls of my yurt are cream colored or tan colored or something like that. So as you're thinking about this place in your own memory and imagination and thinking about the adjectives, I'm doing this a little bit more quickly than one would do it on their own, but start to take a look at the the adjectives that you've used and notice, are they adjectives that connect to your sense of sight? Are they adjectives that connect to your sense of smell or touch or taste or hearing? And what usually happens, and your experience may be different, but what often happens is that we'll often describe a place using adjectives that pertain to our visual sense, our ability to see things. And we may forget about the sounds or the smells. For instance, you may hear in the background there's a sound of an airplane flying overhead over my cozy writing yurt. And because the yurt has fairly thin walls, that sound comes through. So that sound is also part of the experience or my memory of such a place. And the connection here is that when we teach about adjectives, we talk about adjectives connecting to all 5 of the senses. We also have abstract adjectives or adjectives that name qualities, and we talk about those separately. But as far as adjectives that connect to the sensory world, we have these 5 senses, but we often forget about 4 of them. And so here's how grammar can help our writing become more vivid, more alive, more flavorful, if you will, by remembering, oh yeah, adjectives connect to all our senses. So maybe I want to describe the smell of the garden beside my house. Maybe I want to describe how it feels to rub my fingers through the grass, or to put my fingers in the dirt and feel the coolness of the dirt. Maybe there's even a taste in the air, if you will, or the sound of certain kinds of birds or of children playing in the playground down the street. Notice how all of these adjectives, which appeal to our other senses, help make our writing come alive. So this is an example of an activity that connects grammar and creativity. Now, the third of these three keys that I want to share with you is that no one fails if they have the tools, and that what grammar can offer a student, offer any of us, is a set of tools with which to understand language and to use it ourselves in our speaking and our writing with greater fluidity, greater joyfulness, and more grace, if you will. Marie, in fact, Marie Rackham, co-founder of Cozy Grammar, tells a story at the beginning of our basic cozy essay course about how she failed first year English composition in college, not once, not twice, but three times, because when she got to college, she didn't have a tool that she later realized she needed. She needed to understand what is an essay, what are the parts of an essay, and how to write an essay. And in fact, she met a teacher who said to her, nobody fails if they have the tools. And she took this on as her own teaching mantra, if you will. She learned from this particular wonderful teacher, the structure of a basic essay structure. And with this basic essay structure, her failing grade became an A, and she actually went on to major in English and became a beloved English teacher herself. And so her philosophy, which infuses Cozy Grammar, is giving students the tools they need to be able to succeed at whatever they want to do and become in life. Of course, not everybody wants to go on and major in English and become an English teacher, but whatever area of life a person aspires to, whether it's business or whether it's sports or the arts, social services, any of these things, we need to speak, we need to express ourselves in writing. And if we have those tools at our disposal to speak persuasively, clearly, elegantly, beautifully, then everything else in our life will flow that much more beautifully as well. So these are three keys or principles that are at the heart of what we do at Cozy Grammar and that we offer to you, whether or not you want to use our curriculum, as ways to bring wonder back into the study not only of language, but of grammar. And so with that in mind, I wanted to take you through a quick tour of Cozy Grammar, give you an idea how it actually works on the ground before opening this up for some questions and answers. So Cozy Grammar began over 20 years ago when Marie Rackham, this wonderful and beloved, deeply beloved teacher on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, connected with one of her former students and who had become a dear friend himself, David Milkey, he had been working for many years in Los Angeles in the film and television industry and also in theater. And together they decided to create a way of teaching grammar that takes grammar out of the classroom and into the actual world where we live, into homes, into nature. And so that course was produced first on, distributed on VHS, for those who remember VHS, then on DVDs. And in the last, I'd say about last decade or so, we've been moving toward, and we're just completing the process of fully updating the courses to be streamed live, or to be streamed online, and to be supplemented by the occasional live offering like this one, a Q&A session and something like that. And as part of this process, for the last 6 years, I've become involved as a secondary teacher. As I mentioned a little earlier, I am a poet and a writer and a translator. And for each of the lessons that Marie uses to introduce some key grammatical concept, I offer a video lesson and along with that some study notes on how that concept connects to life and to writing and to creative writing. So let me give you a little peek into what this actually looks like. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully I do this correctly and you'll see our website. I'm going to take you to we have 5 core courses: the basic Cozy Grammar course, the basic Cozy punctuation course, the basic Cozy essay course, and part 1 and part 2 of the intermediate Cozy Grammar course, which we're just in the process of finishing up, the new and expanded and revised version. The level 1 comes out this month, June 2022, and then hopefully this fall we'll have level 2 out. So just to give you a glimpse, the course is divided into lessons on different topics, and let's just choose one. and these lessons are an ideal way to organize how a student goes through the material. A student, for instance, might do a lesson a week. And what does a lesson consist of? A lesson consists of a video from Marie. Here's an example. I'll just give a very quick glimpse of the kind of examples that Marie gives from the natural world. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this.
Let's have an example right here. The
about
waves
transitive
lap
verbs.
the beach. Lap, in this case, is a transitive verb because it takes the action from waves, which is the subject, to beach, which is the object. Waves, subject is the doer of the action. Beach, object is the receiver of the action.
And it's the very briefest of tastes. But all of Marie's videos and also all of my videos we're trying to find ways to have the most vivid, memorable examples that we can think of so that people actually become excited about grammar. And we get wonderful letters from students who, especially also from parents who say, oh, I've never seen, my son, my daughter get as excited about language. We've tried this, we've tried that, nothing seemed to work, but now they actually want to study. And when we hear that, that's the best thing we could possibly hear. So the lesson begins with the video from Marie, and then we have a study notes version of that same lesson so that somebody can go back and review without having to watch the whole lesson again. Maybe they're looking for some specific topic. And in these study notes, we also have a way of, we were able to add some additional creative writing activities. We have, for instance, what we call clickables. So starting off, we sometimes will have a creative writing activity to start things off. You click, you get the question you need to write about, and then you get a response to where to take that activity. How does that activity apply? And so throughout the study notes, we have all of the information from the video. We also have this information on PDFs. Sometimes people like to be able to print it out and not spend so much time on the computer, which of course I can certainly sympathize with. As part of the study notes, we also have the supplementary video from yours truly. And here, for instance, we're talking about Marie introduces the concept in this lesson of transitive verbs and points out that transitive verbs have the word transit in them. And so in my video, I take us on a form of transit or transportation, a BC ferry, to talk a little bit more, to give some of my own sort of insight and clues into how we think about transitive and intransitive verbs, why that might be interesting to us as writers, what does that allow us to do as writers, and then I offer a creative writing activity. And of course, these lessons also have their own set of study notes so that a person can also look at them that way to review the material. And all of this is rounded out with a set of exercises. And these exercises come from Marie's original exercises for the program, but because we're now doing this online, we can do these exercises in a way as if Marie and I were sitting beside you and giving you little clues over your shoulder. So for example, if I look at the exercise for transitive verbs, the first, we're asked here to look at the sentence, sweet smells filled the air, and then to identify what is the subject, what is the transitive verb, what is the object. There's a series of questions like this. Now, suppose I tried this and I was still a little confused, and I submit my exercise, and what the exercise does, I can go and I can review my answer, and for any question that I maybe missed or I was confused about, we add very specific hints. We're trying to teach students how to think grammatically, not just, well, this is the right answer, so try again, but, oh, this seems to be a bit confusing. Here's how to think about it. So in the case of discovering the subject of the sentence, we have a section here where we talk, good try. Remember to look for the one word that the sentence is about. You can also ask yourself this question: what is the one word for what is doing the action? Who or what is doing the action in the sentence? And in this case, smells are doing the action of filling the air. Therefore, smells is the main subject. So for every single question that we ask, there are these little clues, which is a way of helping to support particularly students, particularly parents, if parents are working with their students on this, because parents have, many things to juggle being parents. And this is a way for us without sort of, entering, sort of appearing at the side of the student in person to offer that supportive presence. That supportive guidance, which is interactive, because the questions they do fine on, we get to celebrate and move on. So that's just a little taste of what one of these lessons looks like. And I thought I would also mention that we have a free introduction, uh, which is uh, seven short lessons from the basic cozy grammar course. I'll drop a link to this in the chat and share it when we share the video, so that if you're intrigued by our approach, you can try it out and see if it might work for you and your family. See if it would fit what you're looking for. So I'll stop sharing that. I will drop that information in the chat, and then I'll go over a couple questions just to finish up. Here's a couple questions that are often asked that I will share just so that people have this as context. People often ask, what's the age range or the grades that these courses are designed for. And as a general rule, we say that students age 9 and up tend to benefit most from the courses, although we've had students who are younger than that watch as their older siblings watch the courses, and they become quite interested. And in fact, they seem to pick up quite a bit more than one would expect. But these courses have also been used very profitably by middle schoolers and even by high schoolers, as well as college students, particularly the basic cozy essay course. Is sort of upper high school, early college, but really for anybody who wants to be able to express themselves clearly, especially in an organized fashion when making an argument or trying to appeal to a reader in a more academic setting. So that's one of the questions that we are often asked. Let me see if there's any others that might be worth mentioning before we close today. I was mentioning, we have sort of 5 core courses. There's the basic cozy grammar course, the basic cozy punctuation course. These courses actually are designed to go together. So sometimes students will do one and then the other. Sometimes students will combine them and sort of go back and forth. Either of those works very well. That's followed in a kind of sequence by the basic cozy essay course, which offers the very same basic essay format that saved Marie, and not only saved her, but directed her into her life's work as a teacher, as a student of English, and as a teacher of English. And then that has a whole series of example essays and how you can take this basic format and adapt it to 14 or 15 different styles of essays that a student may not only be asked to write, but may also want to write personal narrative essays, for instance, or essays for a college application and things like that. And then we are just finishing up the work on the revised and expanded intermediate cozy grammar course. There's 2 levels to that. And this is something that people have been asking for years, as we've been moving the curriculum to an online streaming platform that they really love the whole set. So now we have those coming out very, very soon. And I'll just end with one last little story, is that in this process of moving to an online streaming platform, we're really trying to offer cozy grammar to a new generation of students. And we've been very moved and heartened by noticing that people are coming back to us who they may have homeschooled their kids, for instance, and now they're homeschooling their grandchildren. And they want to use cozy grammar again. That's been that memorable for them. And there was one woman who wrote from New York City, and she had homeschooled her kids all the way through, and then they're out and young adults in the world now. And tragically, her apartment caught fire, and she lost her whole collection of homeschooling curricula. And she wrote to us, and she said, I'm done with homeschooling. I can let everything go, but the one thing I can't let go are Marie's cozy grammar courses. Is there some way I can get a new copy? And we've been in touch with her, and we're, those stories speak to what sort of the heart of Marie's vision and my vision for a course, which is, of course, about grammar and, of course, about language and proficiency and skills, but it's also about something more, which is we try to allude to with the word cozy, to a kind of affirmation of life in all of its forms as expressed through language and grammar, a joyfulness, if you will, and that's what we most hope to offer all of our students. So I thank you for your attention and wish all of you the very best. And thank you so much for being here, and all good wishes to you. And if you have any questions in the future, feel free to send us an email through our website. We're always happy to be in touch. Wonderful. Bye.